Welcome to Simply Happy, a show where you'll be learning how to shift to a more positive perspective in easy-to-manage steps. Who am I? My name's Olivia. I'm a mother, a wife, the driven woman behind SimplyOli.com, and someone who ditched depression and bipolar disorder through mastering my mindset and emotions. So let's chat about some tips that have helped transform my life, because life doesn't need to look perfect to be happy. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Simply Happy. I am so stoked for you to be here today, listening in your car, in your home, wherever you happen to have your body, wherever that is. Thanks for listening. Anyway, speaking of trying to figure out where you're located, this week's episode is all about making assumptions because, dang, we do it a lot, don't we? So we're going to dive into why assumptions actually tend to ruin a lot of things and how to just, let's stop it. How to stop it, right? Because nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to ruin things with assumptions anymore. So let's hold the phone on that one. But before we dive in, really quick, just wanted to let you know that if you want to support the podcast, which would mean the world and stars and moon and all the things to me, you can head over to patreon.com/SimplyOli to show the show a little love. Have some support. Gosh, what is wrong with me? Okay, this is how today's episode is gonna go. You have a good precursor. Anyway, head to Patreon and my place at it. Oh, it's getting rough. You can support me there, support the show, all the things. I'm gonna stop talking. You've heard about Patreon in previous episodes. If you want to hear a smooth run through of that, go listen to last week's episode because I'm just not doing it today. Anyway, back to making assumptions. Let's just get at it and trip over my words along the way. Like right now, you could assume that I've had too much to drink even though I don't drink. Or that I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to this podcast, that I just know nothing and I'm just speaking into a microphone, right? I'm going to stop putting these assumptions on you. Anyway, assumptions, they tend to be the culprit for a lot of hostility, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, all those things, right? We make an assumption. And I guess I'm referring to bad assumptions. There's probably good assumptions, but I'm referring to the ones that aren't so fantastic. Like assuming somebody's gonna come home and clean everything for you, right? Like, and then they don't do it, and then you're mad, right? And then you're irritated. You're like, why didn't they clean everything? Ooh, good example. Here we go. This is a relatable one. Valentine's Day, because, oh my gosh, I've heard this example happen so many times. Valentine's Day, right? You expect that your significant other is going to take you out to dinner, is going to get you a box of chocolates, surprise you with the flowers, all the things, be romantic, it's going to be awesome, and they just come home and sit on the couch and want to watch a movie with you, right? Your whole day is ruined because you made an assumption. Or a multitude of assumptions, right? So it's kind of ridiculous when you think about it. We as people are storytellers. We love to tell stories, whether we tell them to ourselves or other people or whatever. We just love stories. And so when we think of a day or a situation, right, and we don't have all the gaps filled in, or we fantasize about how we'd like them to go, that's when we start making assumptions. I remember one day I felt so guilty because my husband said he was going to be home in like 30 minutes, and dude wasn't home for like another maybe 2 hours, and I was just like sitting at home fuming, and I was just like, what could he be doing? Like, why? Like, I was so irritated because I was just like, he must be off just like gallivanting, doing whatever he wants. Like, he doesn't have any respect for the fact that I'm sitting here. So I'm making all of these assumptions. And turns out he stayed an extra like hour to help a student that was struggling in in his class, right? And then he went to the store and he got dinner and brought it home and surprised me. Who's the jerk here? Who's the jerk, right? It's me. Now I'm going to let go of that because holding on to that's not going to help me, but for real, like, what in the world? I just played out this whole scenario. Now, I know things can get a little sticky when you start making assumptions based off of people's previous actions, right? Somebody's cheated on you, then if they're not home, you're making the assumption that they're cheating on you again, right? So that one you got to take with a little bit of a grain of salt. But at the same time, if you're sitting there making that assumption, even if that is what's happening, then why haven't you left that relationship, right? Because that's obviously not healthy for you unless you just don't care that that person's cheating on you, because maybe somebody's not. Anyway, but when we make assumptions, all we're doing is filling our head with thoughts, right? Stories, and then activating emotions based on the stories that we've played out, and whether that story is good or it's bad, if reality doesn't meet that expectation because we've plotted the whole thing out in our heads, right? Then we're just leaving ourselves up for disappointment. What good is that? So, the next time you start getting anxious or frustrated because something is not, you just made the assumption that somebody is, an external assumption, right, about somebody else. Think about it. Catch yourself. Be aware of it and be like, whoa, am I just playing this whole thing out? And if you are aware of it, you could still make that assumption, but then go, okay, I've made my assumption. I'm going to let go of this, though. I'm not going to let this bother me. I'm just going to go about my business. And then we'll see if what actually happened or happens matches my assumption. If it doesn't, that's okay. We can't control all of the external stuff, but we can control the internal stuff. So when you make those assumptions that either somebody's cheating or a day is going to go perfectly, or somebody can read your mind because you want food and they have yet to make it for you, but you never asked them. Sorry, babe, I love you. Anyway, when you make assumptions, right, you're just setting yourself up for irritation, right? We have to communicate. That's key in getting over assumption, right? If you expect something but you don't verbalize that to somebody, if you go out tonight, don't cheat on me or I'm going to leave you. I don't know if that's the best example, but you get what I'm saying. Hey, I'd like pizza. Could you go make that right now? Or, I would love to go out to dinner, and, being surprised with flowers and chocolates, that just lights me up. Just communicating those things, it's not that hard. Just take the time to verbalize those things. And don't just sit there with the assumptions in your head. And if you do, like I said, let them go. Let them go. All right. Think I got to the gist of that. So stop letting assumptions ruin everything, right? Verbalize, communicate with other people, and verbalize, communicate with yourself. Understand that it is an assumption, and that as quickly as you made that story up, you can let it go and stop sitting on it. My goodness. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you're interested in this podcast, you're digging it, please leave a review. And if you want to dive deeper, you can always head to simplyoli.com/courses. I've got plenty of courses. I have my coaching services. I also have quick, easy one-on-one calls if you just want to work through some issues. All that stuff is there. SimplyOli.com is like the hub for everything. So I hope you check that out if you're digging this podcast and you want to go deeper. Until next time, thank you so much for listening. I love you so much. And as always, you keep staying simply awesome. I'll keep staying Simply Oli, and I'll chat with you on the next pod. Bye.